Welcome to Queer Conversation with Ellie Morgan. My name is Silke Bader. Ellie Morgan is an actor, writer, musician, and she has appeared on SBS's The Feed. Ellie produced and starred in the short film Her Own Music, which premiered at the 2020 Sydney Film Festival. In 2021, Her Own Music was nominated for the My Queer Career Awards at Mardi Gras Film Festival, where Ellie won Best Performance, and Her Own Music also took home the Audience Choice Award. Ellie is also the co-creator of the web series How to Be Queer, winner of the 2020 Melbourne Queer Film Festival's Pitch Please competition, with their pilot opening the 2021 edition of the festival and having its international premiere at Outfest LA 2021. In 2020, Ellie independently released the singles Quiet Australian and Isolation Song, which music videos directed by Miranda Middleton. Ellie also writes for television with 2 TV series in development, Not Sure Yet and Girl Crush, the series.
I've been 26 for a week, there's still a pandemic, and I got fired from my job today. If 25 was my time to thrive, 26 is a bag of dicks, and I don't know what to say. But my brother doesn't actually have any kids. So, don't know what I'm gonna do. I applied for a degree or 2, and I did get into one. The only problem is the one I got into is the one that I suspect will be less fun. I really thought that I'd be famous by now. I really thought I'd be making my grandmother proud, but she's dead. Maybe the only remedy is to sing about it really loud. No, I still feel shit, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to do about it. And I'll admit I didn't have the whole life thing figured out, but I at least thought that I was headed north instead of headed south. Turns out the map that I was carrying wasn't even the right way around. I'm gonna stop with the map analogy now. I don't know what's coming next. I don't know what's coming next. I don't know what's coming next. I don't know. I don't know. I've been 26 for a week.
Let's talk about the upcoming show and what can people expect. What's queer about the show?
What's queer about the show? Well, me. And I talk a lot in the show about accepting my bisexuality and accepting my sexuality even when I don't look queer. So, for example, I'm currently dating a man, and so when I walk down the street, I don't look queer. I know I am. But in the show, my character, which is essentially me, is really self-conscious about that and doesn't want to talk about it, and is quite self-critical about that fact, when in actual fact, it's like so fine. So I go on this journey throughout the show of learning to accept my bisexuality, my pansexuality, my sexually fluid my sexual fluidity. And yeah, I feel like that's the thing that lots of bisexual and pansexual people can relate to, is feeling valid no matter who you're dating, because it's not who you're dating that's reflective of you. Like, you know who you are. So that's what's queer about my show. I go on this big journey of self-acceptance, I guess you'd say. So accepting where I'm at with my mental health, accepting climate change, accepting that it's here and that I don't have all the answers, but I'm still going to show up and I'm still going to be part of the conversation. So for me, it's a big intersection, like my queerness, my mental health, climate change, climate anxiety, all of it kind of sits in the same like room for me, part of the same conversation as of just learning to accept myself for who I am. Yes.
I enjoyed the video that we've just seen. That's one of the songs that you will perform in your upcoming show.
Yes.
What was the motivation for that song?
I literally wrote it the day I got let go from my job, because I was working in a kids' hospital entertaining the children in the hospital, and just because of COVID they couldn't retain all of their staff. So I got fired, and I was sitting at my piano and I just started writing that song, initially as a joke. I was like, I need to process my grief. And so I was just kind of singing stream of consciousness. And then when I showed it to Miranda, the director of Not Today, she was like, that song's great. I showed it to her as a joke. I was like, I wrote this joke song the other day. And she's like, no, that song's great. And I was like, really? And so then I just kind of kept sitting with it and mined it for more material, and it ended up in the show, yeah.
If you can describe the style of your performance for somebody who has not seen you in any capacity as a writer or performer, how would you describe your style? Is it?
I would say the style is anxious, self-deprecating comedy, but underneath hides a lot of truth. So yeah, it's like it's very young. It's definitely an extension of me. So it's basically a young millennial dealing with life. So yeah, it's very, very fast paced.
It is called Not Today. It's going to be at Melbourne International Comedy Festival from April 19th to April 23rd.
I really see you as an artist of many trades. You are a writer, a singer, performer. How do you see yourself?
Yeah, I'm definitely a multidisciplinary artist. So I go towards whichever medium I think best suits the particular story or conversation that I want to talk about. And so that could be, songwriting, screenwriting, or theatre, playwriting. And it's taken me a bit of time to accept that I do like dabbling in lots of different mediums. I think when I first started out, I was like, I have to pick one. But actually, I think it's grown to be almost a strength. I think people enjoy lots of different mediums, and the way that you use it can be really interesting. So yeah, I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I'm very self-conscious, and I actually am quite introverted, and I have a very loud critical voice in my head that's actually like often being like, no, stop, what are you doing, go home, don't go to the party, go away. I have to actively tell that voice that I'm okay, it's okay, and that putting my ideas out there is worthwhile. So that might be surprising, because it might look like I create a lot of things, but yeah, I have to overcome that voice. I've been singing since I was a kid. Like, I used to run in circles around my parents' dining room table singing Doe a Deer from The Sound of Music. Because why not sing that whilst running around in circles? Anyway, I've been singing my whole life. I was trained classically, so I have that technique. But then it took me a while. I actually took a break from music from like 18 to to like 23, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do it anymore, because I wasn't sure how to rectify my classical training with the songs I love, which were folk songs, like indie songs, even pop songs and like dance pop. I was like, how do I marry that with my training? But actually folk music is really, like, it's really easy to sing folk music if you have that training and that stability in your voice. And it also, I was also part and parcel with me accepting how my voice sounds. I think when you're a kid, you're like, I need to sound like Beyonce or like, you know, Alicia Keys or something. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to embrace my folky roots. And I like just love singing folk. I love it so much. So yeah, I've been writing songs all my life. I started writing songs when I was a kid and never really thought anything of it until the last like 3 years.
Okay, which instrument is your favorite instrument to play, and what?
Oh, that's a good question. It's the guitar. I actually only started playing the guitar properly like 2 years ago, which is fairly recent for me. I'm surprised I'm performing with it on stage, to be honest, because my perfectionist tendency is usually like, you can't play an instrument until you've played it for like 10 years. But yeah, it's guitar. Guitar is so beautiful. It not only does it sound beautiful and it have such beautiful resonance, acoustic guitars, but they're also so percussive. And so it's like a drum and an instrument. Like, it's melodic and percussive all in the one. And it can really set a tone, and kind of, I feel so emotional when I hear a guitar, and the way you play it can really, yeah, affect. It's just like got so much variety. It's beautiful. We got funding from Melbourne Queer Film Festival to make the pilot, and we've written the rest of the series, but it's still in pre-production for the rest. So How to Be Queer is about Naomi, who is like a young, mid-20s, young professional who loves to plan her life, and she's created the perfect 5-year plan in order to achieve happiness in the next 5 years. And she has a best friend called Patrick, and they go out to a party one night, and she usually wingwoman's Patrick because she's the planner, she's really good at it. And she's just gotten a promotion at work, so she's like, okay, well, next on my to-do list is to find the fiancé, so I'm going to wingwoman you and myself tonight. It should be totally fine because I do it for you all the time, so it should be natural. And then she goes to the party and finds that she doesn't get along with any of the men that she tries to speak to. And then she, but just by chance, strikes up a conversation with a woman, and then they hit it off, and an almost kiss happens, and she realizes that she's queer. And then she has to redo her entire 5-year plan in order to try and fit her sexual adolescence, her queer awakening in there somehow, which she wasn't planning for. So that's what it's actually targeted towards people who realize they were queer later in life. Because I think the narrative, when Claire Kavanagh, who co-writes it with me, and I were chatting, we were talking about how often you get told that queer people know that they're queer when they're like kids, and like they're born that way, and like obviously they are, but you know, they know it all the time. Whenever they come out, their parents are like, I always knew it, I knew you were queer, it's okay, and they have this big moment. But that wasn't actually how it was for me, and it wasn't how it was for Claire either, so we kind of figured it out later. I think it also has to do with the fact that I was going through my sexual awakening during the time of the plebiscite here in Australia. And I think the plebiscite was interesting because people had to come out and all of a sudden like demand their right to be here, which we should never ask of anybody. And one of the narratives going around is like, people know that they're queer, like people know they're queer from a young age. It was just one of the narratives, which is like, you can't force people to change. You know, and I think I got it a bit muddled up, and I was like, oh, I think you're meant to know. So like, if I don't know, then I think I'm invalid. But yeah, I think it's so true. You can come out at any time. Even like married women, women married to men, I hear them sometimes being like, oh, I'm straight, but I have such a crush on this woman. I would go gay for her. I'd sleep with her. And I'm like, you know, you can be bisexual. Like,
I know.
You can be married and be bisexual. You can be married to a man and be bisexual. It's totally fine. And you can come out whilst you're married to a man. That's totally fine. I do love honest lyrics that are almost, like storytelling. So I really love Phoebe Bridgers. She's a young rock indie artist right now. I'm obsessed with her. But she paints such vivid pictures in her songs. And I do love musical comedians like Bo Burnham and Tim Minchin, who are very tongue-in-cheek with their lyrics. Same with Kate Miller-Heidke, an Australian artist. She's very tongue-in-cheek with her lyrics. I really love when people aren't afraid to be cheeky or funny in songs and to inject personality and just gags in songs. I find it really invigorating. So I've definitely channeled that into my songwriting. And I'm also just I process the world through humour. So once I finally let myself put humour into my songs, it unlocked songwriting for me because I just let myself be myself. Well, I've got a show on at Sydney Comedy Festival called My Show Didn't Fit on This Stage. But it was going to be Not Today, but Not Today didn't fit on the stage. So I'm writing a new show. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm going to figure that out later. But that's next. I'm going to do that. And then after that, I would actually love to release an EP or an album. I'm also hoping to develop a TV show that I'm developing and a feature film, all to do with queerness, climate change, climate anxiety, mental health, and those intersections.
We haven't talked about your passion there on climate change, and tell me what's going on there for you.
Well, it mainly stems from I kind of think about climate change and tackle climate change more from the mental health aspect and angle. So for me, climate change, not only has it been very sad to see the effects of climate change, but I live with constant anxiety about climate change, as lots and lots of people actually do. And it's really affecting our younger generations. And I just see it, and I see how people struggle to put words to what they're feeling. And communication is one of the key ways you can overcome things like anxiety or depression, because we've worked out there's climate anxiety. There's also climate grief, which is the phenomenon where you're actively and constantly grieving for the world that we will lose and the world that we're already losing. So I'm just hoping as an artist that I can be the bridge for people experiencing these feelings to talk about them and also hopefully understand it a bit more. Because I think once you articulate something, it helps you kind of see it and be able to tackle it. So I'm hoping that by talking about it, we just get used to that we kind of accept that these things are here and we need to realize that they're here, because part of the problem is people don't talk about it and people deny that it's happening, especially in this country, which is hard. But yeah, talk about it and then hopefully push through it or come out the other side and find hope and find ways to show up each day and keep being hopeful, essentially.
Well, one of the worst things that can happen is for anyone, especially to lose hope, because our hope is in the youth, because you're the ones who are voting in the next government and the government after that.
Exactly.
So that you keep up that conversation and that people feel they're being, there is a community there. I think this is really important.
Through the show, I learned that A, I can't fix climate change by myself, but B, you can't really fix anything until you check in and see how you are and then go from there. So that's the journey.
Thank you, Ellie, for
you
joining
so
us
much.
today, and look forward to seeing the show. If you enjoy Queer Conversation, make sure to check out our website LOTL.com, where you will find more content on LGBTQI+ topics. And don't forget to follow us on social media. My name is Silke Bader, and thank you for your company.